Hey guys, how are we doing? Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back another video. So what we're going to talk about today is the weekly closes across the market. We're going to touch in first on some liquidity pools, and we'll start here with Bitcoin. So what we can see for Bitcoin, even though today is bullish 0.44%, so nothing to write home about, but even though it's bullish 0.44%, we're still sitting with that liquidity below us, roughly about 5% below, and this is what we've been talking about for a long while. Whether that gets taken or not, again, I don't know. We do have this trend of leaving some liquidity behind us and not quite getting into the areas that people think we're going to. And I can show you that. Actually, I'll quickly show you that over on this chart here. It's like times where we've thought, oh, we are going to test support. We haven't quite touched key levels. So like even for example, on this level here, we never pulled back this went to 98K. We never pulled back to retest this recent wick, or we never pulled into this area of demand, sorry. We also, on this pullback here, this is when the Japanese yen carry trade started to unravel. We never pulled back into the key area of support that everyone was saying, let me just show you, that everyone was saying, look, we're going to pull back into this area. We never quite made it. Whether we do this time or not, again, I don't know. The liquidity suggests that we probably do take that 106 level. 80% of the time you do take that, but that leaves 20% of the time when you don't. And that's been one of my issues. Since we've been in this range, I've been saying, look, I don't know if we come down and take that. I said statistically, it does look like it. I said when we're up at these levels and we started to push up higher, well, probably that we don't. But then obviously as we come closer, the statistics are in the favor of taking it. But then to give a contrary to that argument, or the opposite side of that argument, if you take us to the daily, which is more important than the short-term liquidity, there is a ton of liquidity above us and not really anything below in real terms compared to what's above us. We can see it on the hourly being below, more dense, and when we zoom in. But if we take a zoomed out perspective, it looks like up only is where we should be going for Bitcoin. And if we compare that to altcoins, we look at Doge and XRP, because I think they're the most interesting places to look right now. If we look at Doge to start with, I'll put us on the daily. I'm not going to dispute that we don't have any liquidity below, because we do, and on the hourly we also do have liquidity below. However, on the daily, liquidity is building above us at about 25 cents and more deeply at 29. And I'm arguing that if we start to get to 29, this is like a full-on reversal pattern, and we probably start to challenge the 45 cent level as well after such a tight consolidation, and there's more liquidity up here. So that's Doge. And if we look at XRP, it's a similar story. The thing with XRP is actually even on the hourly, there isn't that much liquidity below us. But as you can see, even more liquidity building above us at 340. And then if you do take 340, you would hope we could squeeze higher to the 370 level and then continue that squeeze up through the 420-ish level as well, which is basically what happened down here to start the move. This is what I've been saying to people. When we were in this period down here, what happened is we saw liquidity building above us. We got into this area of liquidity. Yes, we did backtest and chop around at these key levels at like 75 cents, the range that have been holding us in for a long time. And then we started to break into the deep areas of liquidity, which gave us the short squeeze. And then obviously people realize they're on the wrong side of the trade and they buy, and then that gives us fuel to the fire and keeps us pushing up. And I think that that's likely to happen again. I think that's likely to repeat here when we get this push up. I don't know, but that is what I think is coming. So I hope you understand that in terms of like where I think we are. If we just take us to the hourly for XRP, because people do ask me for this, then we can look at what's going on in the hourly. As you can see, the most dense liquidity, even on the hourly, is above us, up at about 337 to 338. We do have a bit of orange liquidity below. So if we do sweep the lows for Bitcoin, for example, then you could expect XRP to maybe take that. And I would like to throw one more thing into this equation before I start to get a bit more bullish. Just another realistic thing is that this is, for me, the most logical area of resistance between here and here, basically the recent range highs, and then where we broke structure to the downside. So there's also a gap there. So that's where I think is the most logical area for resistance. Maybe just wicking into this level here. and this is where I'll be the most cautious. But then after we start to clear this level, like for now we're ranging, and that could mean we could come to the highs, could come to lows, whatever. But when we start to attack these levels, this is the most cautious area for me. If we start to get closes above here, cool, then I probably think we're going to the upside. And people are putting in 117k because they're saying that that is actually when the structure changed. But I think that this is more a more important level than 117. But they're both pretty important. Obviously, this is when you could definitely argue that a reversal is in. Because you'd be making higher lows and higher highs provably if you can get above that 117. Now looking at like larger time frame, we look at Bitcoin here, like nothing really looks that bad. Like everyone's been calling for the top and stuff like this. It's because of this prolonged period of pain. This has been quite a long period of sideways boredom, down price action. It's been realistically 16 days. 25 days to where we are now, and nothing's really broke structurally. There's not a lot of volume in either direction. Everyone's thinking that that means the top's in, and whether they're right or not, again, time will tell. I don't think so. But let's have a look at some of the exciting assets like Doge, Flare, and XRP is what I'm going to cover next. So Doge, this is going to be a bit of a messy chart, but we'll get into what's going on in a minute. So if we look on the 4 hour to start with, what we've been watching for Doge is this like short-term pennant. Last night we managed to get the break. We came back, we consolidated on the breakout line, and then so far today we've continued to the upside. We've reached the overbought area on the RSI on the 4 hour. Now that's exciting to me, and I'll tell you why. Every single time we've reached this overbought area on the 4 hour, it has not been the end of the move. As we start to push into the overbought area, it's here. I'm going to just draw these lines into where it is so you can get a decent perspective of what I'm seeing here. Here, here, and here. So on the last few occasions, this is when we've hit the overbought area on the 4 hour RSI. What has it led to? It has led to pretty much a pump of some scale every single time, even if the short term was a little pullback. We never had a significant pullback after hitting that overbought. It normally and has historically in these last few times led to a pump. And then if we go back further, it's a similar story. Every single time you hit the 4 hour, look, here's one. We do see a significant pump there for Dogecoin. So I do think there's a decent argument to say there's a significant pump coming, where the significance a few percent, 5 to 10% or so. That's enough to take us above this key resistance level here, which if I zoom out, I'm going to take us to the daily now. I'm going to cover XRP next, as I said, see if there's loads. If it takes us to the daily, look, we've got another larger pennant building where we've got lower lows. So we've got, higher lows. I'm tired this morning. We've got a low, a high, a higher low, a higher high, a higher low, and then potentially continuation here to break this recent high, which would be then a higher high on the larger time frame. But the reason I've highlighted that is because this is consolidation and compression to the upside. And if we look at the RSI, even it's been compressing. And I imagine if we put something like the Bollinger Bands on, which I've actually never done, so I could be completely wrong here. Where's Bollinger Bands? This is probably showing real compression here if this loads. See how the Bollinger Bands are squeezing closer here, and at some point I reckon they're going to do something like this, where they compress, and boom, they open up. And I've been comparing where we are now. My internet's been down a bit today because I think it's because some wires were cut in the sea, like near us, basically. So compress, a bit of expansion, boom, up we go to the upside. And I think that we've got that sort of move coming. Bollinger Bands are just a volatility measure, essentially. The thing that I've been saying about Doges and the reason that I'm long is because when it starts to move, it absolutely rips it. We've had all these years of compressing, and then we've compressed even more after making these higher low structures. Whether we do something like this first, I don't know the answer. And let's show you. This is what I've been saying as well. I don't know if we go like this. Look here, there's the liquidity below is like 18. Whether we come down, maybe touch the bottom of this again, and then go again, I don't know. But if we don't do that, then the answer is probably, if the market remains bullish and I'm not wrong on my thesis, that we go boom and we start to probably set a new all-time high for Doge. And I don't want to miss that. And that's why I've been in this trade for a while. I've been in this trade It's not been the easiest. It hasn't been particularly tough because it's not really been anything to do. We've basically just gone sideways. I've been in from about this 20, I think about 22.7 or 22.6 was my average buy. So somewhere in here, we've been in Doge, or maybe it was even in this one, or it could have even been in here. Wait, have a look when that is. May, no, it might have been, no, it was later than May. Yeah, it's probably this area here, July, maybe somewhere in here in July. And that's why I've been in the Doge trade. And I also think there's an off chance, as I said, that this pattern could lead to a breakout target to the upside. Again, that will be a huge price target, but I think that the most likely is that we see at least a 1.618, and that's where I'm going to have my first take profit and my main take profit really. For Doge, which is about 117, 114 from this level, it's quite a significant increase to the upside. You've also seen my thesis on the top 10 assets of crypto, and that Doge I think is lagging them, and I think it's going to probably catch up pretty quickly. As you can see, when we start to get aggressive price action for Doge, it does take a lot of percentage in a short period of time. Now, leaving Doge and going to XRP. There's not much to report on the weekly for Doge, so I haven't actually shown you the weekly there because it's just showing compression essentially. XRP. What we've been looking at for XRP, I'll take us down to the 4 hour. It's a similar setup across a lot of altcoins here. It's like we've had this basic consolidation and we've broken above that trend line, similar to what we just showed you on Doge. We've broken above this trend line, and so far we're continuing to try and push higher. Now it's not with massive strength. We did have some volume on the breakout. We have some volume this morning, but I wouldn't write home about it. We're still waiting to see the decision that Bitcoin makes, as long as Bitcoin doesn't like absolutely shit the bed. It does give altcoins the possibility to run. There's a lot of conflicting information out there, and a lot of analysts think that Bitcoin dominance is going to go higher here. I actually tend to think that Bitcoin dominance is going to continue to the downside, based on the macro indicators that we've discussed in the weekly newsletter, and a few other things that is over there, which is completely free to read, link in the description below. So if you want to understand my thought process on that, then go and check that out. I've been speculating that this could be the structure that the XRP is creating, and at the minute it's still just speculation and nothing more, that this could be the start of our third wave of 3 here for XRP after a complex ABC correction. The daily has crossed bullish on the RSI after finding support back on that 270 level, which was the end of our first impulsive move here, the first wave for XRP. So let's see. Time will tell. We need to start breaking above this B leg and closing above 340 and realistically above 370 to start getting more confirmations. I said as soon as we get towards that 340, it's probably going to be quite a quick reversal to the upside based on the liquidity that's there and the closing of those short contracts, making people buy and then squeezing the price higher. Now, if we take us to the weekly, this is where things get exciting, and we're going to look at XRP ETH on the weekly. XRP ETH is something that we've been watching for potential reversals here. If we look just against the US dollar, it is starting to potentially look like we could see a wick to the upside here. And I also do think the pain trade right now is to the upside for most investors. I think that most investors are on the sideline right here, and we can see that again by something we highlighted in the newsletter this week, that there is the most stable coins on the sideline. I think ever, I'm not sure if it's ever, but Pav really covers that on technical in the on-chain side of the newsletter this week. So if we look at XRP ETH, we've been holding, let me just take these drawings off, so I'm going to go into the short-term time frame as well. We've been holding this key support here as well, this key X resistance now as support. We haven't actually closed a week below that. We've held bang on there as a support level. And the RSI is potentially bouncing here for XRP against Ethereum. I've highlighted this area as potential Wyckoff accumulation and labeled that multiple times and posted that over on Twitter there with the spring here, back test of that area, and then a push out, and we're in the last point of support. This is that area, as you can see. And then if I take us down to the 4 hour, we just look to see if there are any reversal structures happening on the 4 hour, and there are. Before this happened, what we were saying is, look, there's bullish divergence here as price makes lower low and RSI makes a higher low, and again the same thing happens again. Price makes a lower low and RSI makes a higher low. I said, look, this is the low, this is a high, this is a higher low. Could there be a higher high? This is before price developed, and then we got that higher high today, holding the 4 hour and closing that 4 hour above this recent price action, and potentially now back testing and holding that support. I said it would be nice and more exciting if we can get closes above this 0.00071 level for XRP against ETH, then we can really start getting excited about an upside move. But definitely something to be watching here as XRP ETH does try to push to the upside. That's something that I'm really going to be paying attention to. So finally, we'll just touch on Bitcoin dominance to wrap up the video. A lot of people have said, look, they think that Bitcoin dominance is going to continue to the upside from here. Like, I can see the argument, and it's basically for this reason. And they say a few things like, oh, obviously that the thing comes down a straight line. They draw some sort of trend line in here. Is it that? Maybe it's there, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's from here. And they say, look, it's a support area for dominance. Maybe you're right, but I think if you go to the more zoomed out time frames like the monthly, I keep arguing this same point. I don't think you need to draw anything really in on the monthly. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. We could bounce off the 50, but realistically it's high volume on the 2 sell candles on the monthly, consecutive sell candles, and what we've seen historically is these do seem to accelerate when it is time, and whether we do get that this month or not, I don't know, but that's what I basically am showing you here. The RSI got into the overbought area, we crossed bearish and got quite a lot of volume supporting potential push to the downside here. So I've also said in the short term that I think the structures do support what I'm saying there on the monthly. As we keep making these continuation patterns, we drop and then consolidate, and then we drop and then consolidate, and then we drop, and then now we're consolidating again, and whether we reverse from here or not, I don't know, but that would be against the short-term trend, and the short-term trend, in my opinion, is going to continue to the downside. So that's everything that I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, guys, please do hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share it with a friend, and ask me if you've got any questions in the comment section below. Go and check out our newsletter where I touch on a few of the extra things that I didn't get to touch on in this video. If you want to trade on any leverage, I have a link to WEX and MEXC in the description below, both non-KYC exchanges that you can always add to your portfolio of exchanges. Obviously, nothing I say in this video is financial advice, but I hope you enjoyed. Peace up, A-Town down, as Crypto Insight UK would say.